Hey, what's going on, Who That Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And this is a special part 3 edition of the State of the Saints podcast, Draft Prospect Edition. Now, I did 2 videos so far, and they were focused on wide receivers. I did one on Laviska Shenault out of Colorado, and I also did one on LSU wide receiver Justin Jefferson. But now it's time to move on from the offensive side of the ball to the defensive side of football. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm just going to slowly be doing videos on defenses. That's not true. I'm just focused on defense on today because we all know that the Saints need some help on the defensive side of the football, especially in the secondary and especially in the slot corner position. I mean, you look at P.J. Williams and Patrick Robinson. These two guys have really been kind of frost and flaky, if you will, over the past few years, maintaining a slot position. The Saints drafted C.J. Gardner-Johnson. They lined him up in the slot. He's done an outstanding job. He brought some toughness, some passion to that position, but he's just one guy. And the Saints need someone else. I'm basically doing this video because I really feel like the Saints already have their number 1 and number 2 corners. You have Marshawn Lattimore, who I feel like is a true number 1 corner. And you also have Janoris Jenkins, who you end up picking up, after he was released from the New York Giants. I understand that he is supposed to get like $10 million this year if the Saints sign him. But I'm thinking that the Saints are going to negotiate something so they won't have to pay him so much money. So I think you will have your number 2. Now the focus on getting somebody in the slot that can help out C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Shaquan Hampton, and other guys that the Saints decide to put in that position. And I looked at someone by the name of Lavert Hill. Lavert Hill is a cornerback. He was a senior all 4 years. University of Michigan. He's 5'10", 184 pounds, and I think he will be a really suitable cornerback for the New Orleans Saints. I look at this guy. He's not going to be in, a top number 1 first round pick or anything like that. He's not even, in my opinion, going to be a second round pick. I think he's going to probably fall into like the 3rd or the 4th round. So I think that the Saints are not going to draft a cornerback in the 1st round because it's not really that necessary. They need somebody else at another position in the 1st round, and they have another pick in the 3rd round, and I feel like that's the route you need to go by getting Lavert Hill. Lavert Hill, some of the pros that I've seen, just watching some of his highlights, he has really great ball instincts, and I think it came from him spending 4 years in college. Trying to understand, those different defenses in college. And also, I feel like he can be a leader for your team. He was the captain of the Michigan's defense because he was there all 4 years. He has outstanding ball instincts once again. One thing that he does really well, he's able to turn his head around really quickly. He plays to the eyes of the wide receiver. Anybody that played the cornerback position, when that ball is coming towards their wide receivers, their eyes get about big as saucers, So he has a knack of looking at the wide receiver's eyes and turning his head around just in time and track the ball. He's also really good at press coverage. He's really good at tackling, which is a plus. And honestly, he's not intimidated if he goes up and lines up against a guy, that's a little bit bigger than he is. Now, I see some cons in this, but I'm just saying this because I feel like he's probably in college. I've seen a couple plays that were kind of alarming to me, but I don't feel like it's just a big deal. I feel like he was making some business decisions out there. He probably was thinking, man, I ain't about to go ahead and tackle this 250-pound, dude, or a 220-pound dude. It seemed like to me like he was making some business decisions sometimes, and he wasn't confident with his tackling. I know he can tackle. I mean, I watched maybe like 2 or 3 hours worth of footage on him. I mean, I even watched a couple big games that he was featured in, and he did really well. Also, one thing I like about him is when he intercepts the ball, he has a knack of returning them, man. I mean, he had like 2 pick sixes in like back-to-back weeks or something like that. So he did an outstanding job at really getting eyes on a football, and also returning the ball for touchdowns. I think that's something that's missing from the Saints. I think that the Saints, they can catch these interceptions, but you don't really see guys getting interception yards and getting pick sixes. I mean, you seen one out of Marcus Williams last year, but I mean, honestly, it was probably because Tampa Bay gave up. I feel like the Saints can get this guy in like the third, maybe even the fourth round, later rounds in the draft. I think he'll still be there. He is a work in progress. I think you have to coach him up. His size is a little bit of a concern to me. Being 5'10", 184 pounds, I mean, maybe you want to bulk up, get a little bit more muscle out there, because I feel like if he's in the slot, he's probably going to get pushed around, especially when teams are lining up their big wide receivers on the inside. We know that the Atlanta Falcons like to line up Calvin Ridley on the inside. Sometimes they line Julio up on the inside. So I think he can give these guys trouble. Give Lavert Hill trouble if he, is so small. I mean, they can just basically kind of bully him. So I don't feel like that's a concern. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I feel like the Saints would draft Lavert Hill. I'm going to give it a 5. And it's probably because of what I said a little bit earlier, the cons about him making business decisions. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal, but I mean, it could be one of those situations where a guy can get intimidated, when he's going up against a bigger and much larger player. And that might be, what we have been seeing over the past couple of years, a guy that's whiffing on a tackle and missing a play. But I would love to hear from you. What do you think about Lavert Hill? Have you ever heard about him? And what do you think about the Saints possibly drafting a cornerback in the later rounds? Comment down below, like and share this video. This has been the State of the Saints podcast. Once again, my name is TJ Jones. Please check out the previous videos of the draft prospects, Laviska Shenault and Justin Jefferson. Let me know what you think about those, and also about Lavert Hill. Once again, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints podcast. And also the State of the Game podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe to the new podcast, The State of the Game. Really looking for your support to help that channel grow. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?